Welcome back to the latest episode of Chatting About Chan, and today is a huge episode. It's huge because I am no longer going to be tortured every time I watch a movie for Chatting About Chan. I kind of lied 2 episodes ago. I said Shaolin Wood and Men, we were out of the woods, and we were like on our way. I don't know why I said that. I think it was just because it was more familiar territory, and for the type of films that I love from Jackie, even though Shaolin Wood and Men was nothing of the kind of films that I like from Jackie. But Snake, folks, I can report Snake and Eagle Shadow is the real deal. I am so happy we were here. Mason, how do you feel?
I thought it was great. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's a good feeling, right? You feel good.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. It's like a band that you love that they're like doing the reunion and it actually works. Like they have some new songs and they're not so good, and then they launch into the classic and you're like, oh yeah, this is it.
Well, I've been re-listening to Jackie's autobiography, the newer one, and I was listening to it last night, and he was basically summing up what Mason and I have been going through. He was just miserable, and he even says himself that all those early movies he made sucked, but he had to pay his dues for like 10 years. It took 10 years for his career to take off and to really find his footing. And that's what I admire about Jackie. Like, lots of actors do that, I feel like, but also lots of actors are acting. They're not throwing themselves through windows and falling off of buildings and doing stunts and breaking bones and putting their lives at risk. Jackie did that for 10 years, right? And hoping that a break would come, and he wanted to be a director. I don't know if he wanted to be a star director, but I don't think he really knew what he wanted until he saw like the opposite of Bruce Lee. But yeah, so he did 10 years, and just to kind of set the scene, after Bruce Lee died, he went back to Australia to live with his parents, and then when he was in Australia, he got an offer to do New Fist of Fury, which was to kind of fill the shoes of Bruce Lee. He went back to Hong Kong to do that film. It was a bomb. He went back to Australia, and then he went back to Hong Kong to do another movie, but he did 2 movies in a row, 2 or 3 movies, and they all were stinkers. And then Snake and Eagle Shadow came along, and the studio that hired him they said, Jackie, what kind of movie do you want to make? And they let Jackie do that. And what the result was Snake and Eagle Shadow, which literally showed Jackie who he is. There's nothing, like, everything's here. All the trademarks are here. His character, his acting style. Not a lot of stunts. It's all martial arts focused. The stunts will come in later. But so yeah, that's the scene we set. Mason, do you want to give us a quick summary of what the plot is?
Yeah. So the plot is Jackie Chan is the star of the film, and he plays. Hold on, I'm drawing a total blank. This is why I gotta start doing notes, man. Can you start us off?
Look, I got my notes right here.
Yeah.
So the movie opens up, and Shaolin Wood and Men kind of opened up the same way, where it showed Jackie fighting multiple masters of different arts. But in this movie, it really feels like it's Jackie doing martial arts in front of a giant red screen to really badass disco music, like crazy disco techno. I don't know. Mason's a music guy, but it was like to me, it was like a fusion of disco and techno. And
we saw that a couple movies ago. They opened Fist of Fury or Shaolin Wood and Men, or one of those with the similar scene.
It was Shaolin Wood and Men. Yeah, so the way I saw it was as if the studio was like, this is Jackie Chan, like the world meet Jackie. And that's what that was to me, because it was bold, in your face, very cool. So that was the introduction of the movie. This has nothing to do with the plot. It's literally just Jackie Chan doing kung fu moves. So the plot is very simple, and that's one, I'm going to get back to this, but that's one of the reasons why I love this movie, is because of how simple the plot is. So the movie opens with 2 martial arts masters. One is a master in the art of the snake fist way of fighting, and the other guy is Eagle's Claw. And for no reason, the guy who does Eagle's Claw says, I hate you, snake fist guy. I'm going to kill all the people who practice snake fist martial arts. There's no reason given why. He just says, I'm going to do it. So he kills the Snake Fist Master, and the Snake Fist Master, I can't remember if he says it or the other guy just knows, but he says, yeah. Though the other guy goes, now that I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill this other guy who also is the Snake Fist way, and that way I'll wipe out all the people who know Snake Fist. So he kills the Snake Fist Master, and then the movie cuts to an old man known as the Beggar. and the beggar is the other main protagonist in this story. So the beggar, by cutting to him, it is insinuated that he is the other Snake Fist Master. He's literally just a homeless guy in some Chinese town who drinks a lot and just does nothing. He's homeless. So,
yeah, there's a great scene right at the top with the beggar where he's kind of just hanging out on like he's sleeping on like a rope, which is first off kind of strange. But there's like mosquitoes biting him.
Amazing.
And he's like, I'm warning you, mosquitoes. It's like almost like a Three Stooges sequence where it's just
the whole first 10 minutes was Three Stooges, no question.
He's just sitting on the rope and he's kind of talking to the mosquitoes, and then he basically like reaches out and plucks one from the air, and he's like, I gotcha. And then they keep biting him, so he does like this with his hands, and his hands are just like filled with mosquitoes. He's like, told you guys, and then he kind of clasps them together and kills all the mosquitoes. It just was a really funny sequence, yeah.
Yeah, so that was our introduction to the beggar. So basically, it establishes the beggar. He's just wandering around town being homeless, and then it cuts to Jackie. Jackie is like the custodian for one of the martial arts schools in town. He gets bullied a lot. So it sets up the scene that you have this kid who's down on his luck, who wants to learn martial arts, but has no one treats him with any respect. So the beggar, Jackie and the beggar come in contact with each other. They literally become friends. It's not even like master and student. The beggar says like, I'm not your master, I'm your friend. Aren't we friends? So they become friends, and then the Eagle Claw master finds out that the beggar's in town. The beggar teaches Jackie the Snake Fist way. The beggar and the Eagle Claw guy like get into a fight, and then they have what leads to the showdown. The guy just comes to find him, and then they all start fighting.
Yeah, basically, it's not complicated.
I can't remember how they got to the field though. So the main Eagle Claw master, who has ties with a rival martial arts school, they like go to a field. Him and the beggar go to a field, and they have a final match. And the Eagle Claw master is about to kill the beggar. He beats him up pretty bad, and he's like, "Yeah, I told you, Snake Fist was weak." And then Jackie comes in and he protects the beggar and beats the master. I'm leaving a lot out here, but I'm just describing the basic plot. So that's it, and it's super simple. And one of the reasons why I love this movie is because my main complaint for all of the last 10 movies that we watched is that there was so much plot just for the sake of plot. Like the plot would lead to a fight here and there, but there was no meaning or thematic or themes to anything that was happening in the movies. It was just a flat out plot. And there was too much of it, and it was convoluted, and it was boring, and it was awful. Snake and Eagle's Shadow knows exactly what it is. It's a straight-up martial arts film. It's got tons of comedy. It's got tons of fighting. It's hilarious. It's well shot. It's really well edited. And
yeah, it plays almost like a cartoon. Like it just
and the movie it's an hour and a half. And
it's so fast. Like the shots are put together so fast. Like I said, it is like a Three Stooges episode.
And it's funny because... All right, so let's start from the beginning. This is directed by Yuen Wu-ping. Many of you may know him as the guy who did the choreography for The Matrix. That was his huge introduction to the West. He directed and did the fight choreography for this movie. And another fun fact, his dad is the man who plays the beggar. And that is what's so awesome about this. So Yuen Wu-ping, I definitely credit the vision of the movie to him, and I'm sure Jackie had a lot to do with it as well. But I remember when I was like a teen, I saw a movie or like a behind the scenes video where Jackie explained how they filmed his stunts. And like, this is why stuntmen and fight choreographers deserve to have their own freaking Oscar category, because Jackie is a straight up filmmaker. He was explaining how they plan the fight choreography, but they already have the edits in their head. And they know how they're going to edit it in post and what shots they're going to cut to and close-ups and things like that. And you can see that in this movie. Whereas all the other movies we watch, they're so poorly shot. They're so poorly edited. The fighting choreography is sloppy. It's boring. It's not exciting. Here it is awesome. And I just could not believe how... revolutionary might be too much, but it is. Like, I was like, this is history right here. This is incredible.
Well, it's amazing how fully formed it is. Like, I was thinking we'd eventually like see a gradual build up to the Jackie Chan movie that we know.
It's like someone just snapped their fingers and it happened.
It's like he came down, out of space or something. It's just so cool.
Well, I have a feeling that, like I said, we've seen glimpses of Jackie's fighting and comedy here and there, and I have no doubt in my mind that he had a full vision. And like when you have something like that stewing in your head for years, I think he just was able to, and he had a good collaborator and it just came out perfectly.
Yeah, I think he got lucky with the right people at the right time to work with him on this movie, and
right
gave him the chance to try something different, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and so this was his breakout film. This made him a star overnight. I think Drunken Master was even bigger. But yeah,
it's the same director, right?
Yeah, it's the same director.
Yeah.
And the Beggar.
And
the Beggar's also
Beggar's the same guy, yeah.
But yeah, so the plot is one of the reasons why I really liked it. They knew what it was. It's very simple, and because it's so simple and it lets the actors shine and have fun, it flies by, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I liked there's like a missionary character who was like
you think he's
really
a missionary.
Great. What?
You think he's a missionary?
Oh yeah, I mean he's got like this giant cross around his neck, and a white guy, and he's like going door to door. There's a really hilarious scene where I think they're in an alley like a row of houses, and Jackie's at one side. He's asking for money, and then I can't remember. He's asking money for his school or something that he works at, and then the missionary's at the other side, and you can see them both kind of rushing to like get to as many houses as possible before the other guy, so they can get as much money as they can from the people living there. It was just really funny.
Yeah, that was a good scene. Well, no, I think that maybe he was trying to get after the beggar.
Oh, maybe.
That's how I interpreted it later. But
yeah.
So to break down the details of the movie, there is a lot. So like Mason said, what I loved about this movie was it had a Three Stooges vibe to it. And it was like just reveling in the fun and the goofiness. And it just makes the viewer have a much better time seeing these guys have so much fun on screen. And the sound effects are incredible. And that adds to it tenfold. And so after the scene Mason mentioned with the beggar picking up the mosquitoes from the air, he gets into a tiff with some students in the schoolyard. And it's so good because all he uses is a bowl and some chopsticks, and it's straight up Three Stooges. It was awesome. It was so clever and witty, and yeah, it was just funny.
You can tell too that they're that the filmmakers are kind of spoofing like the genre too. Like you can tell that they like the movies that came before them, but that they're also like playing with the tropes and kind of poking fun at how serious a lot of these movies are, when it's really just like a bunch of kids like having a fight for stupid reasons.
Right, exactly. That's a great point. I didn't even catch that. It is a little bit of a satire for sure, and kind of making fun of the different styles of fighting. And so you might be asking yourself, why the hell is this movie called Snake and Eagle's Shadow? Well, so as we've established, the style it's probably one of the best parts of the movie. Is the style that the beggar teaches Jackie is called Snake Fist. And I don't know if the beggar really knows that he's like being hunted, but he just decides to teach Jackie Snake Fist style, and Jackie wants to know how to fight. Oh, so the reason why Jackie wants to know how to fight is, like I said, he's the custodian at the school. And I'm not kidding, guys. Like, I really mean this. And early on, it shows him there's two instructors at the school Jackie is the custodian at. And whenever they want to demonstrate to someone how to do martial arts, or they want to show off to someone who wants to join the school, they use Jackie as a literal human punching bag.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's very extreme. And Jackie is physically abused all the time and mentally abused by these people. So, and he has, at that point in time, he has no martial arts skills in the story. And it cuts to him every time after he gets beat up. It cuts to him being very sad and depressed, like washing his head in a bucket, looking down into the bucket, and he sells it. That is the best acting I've seen Jackie do in all the movies. And I think that's because of all of the pain and trials and tribulations that he had gone through those 10 years leading up to that movie. I totally believe that he channeled it right there in those moments.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he actually cries in a couple scenes too.
Yeah, it's tough. And so he doesn't know kung fu, and then the beggar comes along and he's like, "Hey, why don't I teach you? Why don't I teach you kung fu?" And then comes like one of the best training montages ever. It was fantastic, incredible soundtrack. The beggar teaches Jackie or trains him, and he does everything from having he sits on Jackie. At one point, he's sitting on Jackie's back. Jackie's doing a handstand over a bunch of incense sticks. And if he lowers his body, the incense burns his stomach. It's like stuff like that. It's fantastic. It's just awesome.
Like a Yoda, like Yoda.
Yeah, very. Yeah. Oh my God, that's where they must have gotten the Yoda training from. Was from
Definitely.
these '70s martial arts films. Holy crap! I never made that connection. You're totally right. It's got to be. Yeah. So there's that, and then the reason why the movie's called Snake and Eagle's Shadow is because there is a pivotal scene in the movie that is also extremely controversial. In the version I saw, this scene was edited down drastically. I've actually seen the movie. This is probably my fourth time. And the previous times I've seen it had the full scene. So I knew that it was out there. And I sent it to Mason. It's hard to talk about this scene. So basically, Jackie comes back to his room and the beggar went away. But the beggar left him a secret instruction manual of how to do the snake fist style. When Jackie comes back, the manual is ripped up, and he's like, "What? What happened to my manual?" And he turns around and he's like, "Oh, the cat clawed it up, stupid cat." And then there's a snake, there's a cobra in his bedroom, and the cat fights the cobra, and he goes, "Yeah, cat, get the snake." So the cat and the cobra fight, but in the version I saw, it was about 4 seconds long. It just cut to it showed the cat hissing at the snake, and then it cut to the snake dead. And in the minute and a half version, it shows the snake and the cat fighting, and the snake wraps itself around the cat, and the cat's jumping, and then ultimately the cat hits the snake multiple times in the side of the head, killing it.
It just looked crazy. It looked very cruel.
Yeah, it looked very cruel, and basically Jackie sees how the cat kills the snake. He goes, "Oh, wow, that's what I should do. I should use cat claw fighting style and integrate it with snake fist." So Jackie combines the two, and at the end, when he defeats the bad guy, he defeats him by smacking him like a cat claw would attack a bad guy, like a snake, and he does it to the bad guy's head, and that's how he kills him. And
he also does all these jump moves where he's sailing through the air.
I forgot about
his arms and his legs are kind of tucked against his body, and
my God,
this noise, and they keep doing that, and it's just Jackie flying through the air with the cat screaming. It just,
oh my God, I totally forgot. It was amazing, but it was 7 times in a row. Like the guy, whoever did the sound effects, wouldn't even let it finish. It would be like, it was just let it play out. And so, I forgot about that.
Get maybe 2 samples at least.
Yeah, yeah, right. So when he saves the beggar, he tells the beggar what he did, and the beggar goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "What is it called?" And Jackie says, I call it cat's claw." He goes, "You shouldn't call it. That's a bad name. You should call it Snake and Eagle's Shadow." And then it just says the end.
For the record, I think Cat's Claw was definitely a better name than Snake and Eagle's Shadow.
Yeah, because no one would get why it's called Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. He would have to tell them every time that, "Oh well, there was this guy, and he wanted the Eagle's Claw to be the main fighting style, and then he tried to come after my friend, the beggar," and it's just it doesn't tell you up front what it is. Cat's Claw tells you up front what it is. So, yeah, it was dumb name. But, yeah, great movie. I loved it. I went back. I don't know, Mason. I think we need to do a little bit more research because I think he had 4 or 3 other films that came out before Snake and Eagle's Shadow that year. Because I looked at the other movies that he has coming out that we watch later, and a bunch of them are directed by Weilo, and also some of them are more wuxia looking than this. So I don't know, did he go backwards and do those, or did he do them at the same time? I'm not sure what the.
Well, I think he was still producing movies for the other studio at the same time. Okay, what I think was happening. I think he was still working with the company that put together Fist of Fury, and at the same time working with this other studio making movies like Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. So
Mm-hmm.
I think his contract just required him to work at both studios for a bit.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's right. So,
Hey, did you notice the guy from like the tailor from Kung Fu Hustle?
no, who was he in the movie?
He was like the star pupil from the other school.
The
From
guy, the guy who never wore the shirt?
Yeah.
No, how did you figure that out? Did you just click his name on IMDb?
I was like, that looks so much like the guy, and I looked it up, and
But didn't he have a mustache or something?
In this movie or the other one? I don't think he had one in either.
Okay, I didn't recognize him. Yeah, the star people. He never had a shirt on, but he got beat up pretty easily.
Yeah, he was not that good, but yeah, I just was happy to see that guy. I love seeing those. I never knew that Kung Fu Hustle was like that. That just it was like an all-star cast of like legends from the industry.
This guy accented cinema. He broke down Kung Fu Hustle, and every single person in that movie is a Kung Fu legend from the 70s, like in cinema, Kung Fu cinema legend. And he took all like what they were known for, and he even shot the movie on an old Kung Fu Shaw Brothers set. The entire film is just a giant homage to 70s Kung Fu. It's amazing.
That makes it so much better.
Yeah, it makes it so much better, and that like is everything that he grew up watching as a kid, I think. And so, there was another in one of the early Jackie films. I clicked on one of the the actresses, and she was in Kung Fu Hustle. She played the woman with the cigarettes.
That's the policewoman.
Yeah. Oh, that's policewoman. Right. Totally forgot. Yeah.
Insane.
That
blew my mind.
Yeah. Just knowing that like these guys, they must have done to have careers. They probably just did as many films as possible, just kind of like what Jackie was doing. So I think that's awesome. I mean, it makes the movie a lot better, and just it's so funny how sometimes context is everything, and it really elevates a film.
Well, I don't want to talk too much about Kung Fu Hustle, but I do have to say that like the other amazing thing about that movie is how like funny and great everyone is. Like you wouldn't think someone who acted in Policewoman and then took 40 years off or whatever, and then made Kung Fu Hustle would be any good, but she's like great.
That's obviously a testament to the directing. I mean, Stephen Chow knew exactly what he wanted, and that movie is like a clear realization of his vision, and it's hilarious. But yeah, so that's it for Snake and Eagle's Shadow. What do we have next, Mason? What's coming up next?
The next movie is Snake and Crane Arts of Shaolin.
Oh, sweet. I think that might be a good one, too.
Could be.
I don't know anything about it, but yeah, hopefully I can find it. Yeah, thanks, Jeff Bezos. Snake and Eagle's Shadow was not on your freaking Hi-Ya streaming service. Like, I had to watch this movie on YouTube. So
I did too. I thought it was on Tubi, but I couldn't find it this time. So I watched it on YouTube as well.
It wasn't on Tubi. That was going to be my original option, but I just didn't do it.
Yeah, when I researched it, when I first put I saw it was on Tubi a while ago, but I guess they took it off. But I was like, oh, I guess I don't really want to watch it on YouTube. But then I was like, I'll just see what the quality was like, and it was 720 or something. It was fine.
It was fine. Yeah, it was fine. But I would definitely love to see this movie remastered. Absolutely, because when you see when you see the other films on Criterion, the remastered versions, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's amazing.
The Shaolin Wooden Men that I saw was remastered, and it looked fantastic.
Yeah, the one I saw was not. Not even close.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's it called? Snake and Crane Arts?
Yeah, of Shaolin.
Okay. Do you know anything else about it or not really?
I don't really know anything about it, no.
Yeah, so another thing I loved about this movie was the soundtrack. It was incredible. I loved the Three Stooges style hijinks. Oh yeah, one of the best bits in the movie was Jackie, one of the instructors who just would sit around and smoke opium all day and would torment Jackie. He was like a cartoon villain type character, like a sniveling cartoon villain. He would dip his feet into powder and then walk around and leave footprints, so Jackie would have to wipe them up as he walked. But then there's a great bit where Jackie's kind of like stepping where he would step, so he couldn't leave footprints. It was really funny. It was just, it was great. It was just so funny.
Yeah, just insanely choreographed.
Yeah.
Choreographed.
Choreographed.
It's just like, I mean, you could tell that they spent like a long time getting that together. And there was also that great scene. Speaking of taking a long time, remember that scene where the old beggar is like kicking the bowl around and just kind of doing tricks with the bowl?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm sure they did so many takes of that. That was one of the things that Jackie was known for was just doing like 100 takes of something until you got
Until
it
they got
perfect.
it right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that it looked so easy when you see it on the film, but in reality, it's because they did these things so many times to get it right.
Man, I really hope we get Jackie on the podcast because I have so many questions I want to ask him about this. Well, not this movie so much. I want to ask him about Wen Wu Ping and what he saw in him, and also his thoughts on Wen Wu Ping bringing the Hong Kong style choreography to the West, to Hollywood, and what he like. I want to know what Jackie thinks of The Matrix, and how so many Hollywood films after that just stole that style and put it and made martial arts just a staple of Hollywood style fighting, you know? And I also want to ask him what his relationship what was like with Wen Wu Ping's dad. I mean, what's it like to work with a dude who is like, he was 65 years old when they were working together. And what was cool, I looked up his dad. His dad was a veteran of the film industry. He had been making martial arts films for like 30 or 40 years already. So he knew the ropes. So I want to know what it was like. Like, was he open to trying new things? Because he seems so comfortable on screen. He seems comfortable.
Yeah, they have they have a really good chemistry.
Yeah, their chemistry is so natural, and I'm like, I feel like, and also, what's it like? What was it like for him to be being directed by his son? That's what I want to know. So yeah, there's a lot I want to know about that movie and the dynamic between all three of them, and yeah, it's just there's a lot that started right there. It's a piece of history. It's really cool.
And this is the movie where it launches him into fame, right?
Yeah, it launched into fame. Mm-hmm. And then, like, I'm pretty sure Drunken Master just like exploded that. Whatever he was at before just went through the roof.
Same year, by the way. It's just there's so many movies made every year.
I think Drunken Master was a year later. The years are kind of different everywhere you look.
Yeah. I guess it was released the same year, so they could have both been filmed.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, the storyline for Drunken Master is kind of similar. Like, the Beggar is in it again. It's the same actor. Jackie has a similar... Oh, Jackie, I think he's more of a brat in Drunken Master. He becomes mature through fighting. But
he plays kind of an idiot, like, but not in like a funny way. It's more like he's played as just being someone who's just kind of dim-witted.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of interesting. It kind of gave it a different feel than like, just like a headstrong person who just makes dumb decisions. He's actually like a,
Are you talking about Drunken Master or Snake and Eagle's Shadow?
No, this movie, Snake and Eagle's Shadow.
Oh, I didn't think he was dim-witted. He was just a guy who was like down on his luck, whose self-esteem was totally destroyed. I
thought they said it a couple times, but maybe it's just they were being mean to him, and he was just kind of accepting it as
that's
one of the reasons why he deserves to be beaten. That's
how I interpreted it, and I think that in the movie he did his whole like silly stuff every now and then, but it wasn't consistent. Like the movie, Jackie's martial arts skills shined more in this film than his like personality, if that makes sense. So like,
he's not a smart ass at all, which is kind of what you get like a little bit later. Like
I said, he's silly like during that bit where he's following the guy's footsteps and things like that, but it's not like that throughout the entire film.
Yeah, that's only after he's become like a super badass after going through the training.
Right, and he gains confidence. Right, and then the reason why he's covering the guy's footsteps is because he's gained confidence. And so basically the movie's about Jackie's very simple character development from going from a weak dimwit with self-esteem issues to a confident, strong young man through the power of kung fu. So before we end this week's episode, Mason, you got any movie roundup, news, recommendations?
I feel like I had a great week watching movies, but I always feel weird to talk about movies that are really obvious.
Like what?
But I did just see Suspiria, the original, and I thought it was just amazing.
That's not that obvious.
I mean, as a guy who likes 70s and 80s horror movies, it feels like a I can't believe I haven't seen it before now, but I'm glad I waited because I think even like 10 years ago I would have thought it was boring. But seeing it now and knowing a little bit more about how movies are crafted and how shots are supposed to work and color palettes and things, it made me appreciate it a lot more, and I just thought it was just awesome. I thought it was like very, very. It actually was. I think I mentioned this to you. It kind of had a Lynchian feel, and it made me realize. And I had read his autobiography, David Lynch, and he talks about how he has all these buddies that are Italian kind of art film directors, and I never thought of that as like a influence, but clearly it is.
Well, the way he uses lighting and elements like that is for sure.
Well, down to kind of like the dreamy logic to things, and some of it seems like some of the symbolism and the events, like the very strange events that happen, seem like something that Lynch might come up with. So yeah, I just thought it was great. I thought it was really, really, really great.
Yeah, I've been dying to see it for so long.
I almost never feel this way, but between Suspiria and Mulholland Drive, both of those movies, I just felt like immediately when it was over, I was like, I want to watch it again. Like I can't wait to see it again.
Wow.
So I haven't rewatched it, but I'm gonna rewatch probably both of those this year.
So I've been hearing about Suspiria for like 10 years, and it was hard to track down for a really long time, and horror isn't really my thing, but I heard from a filmmaking perspective it's pretty awesome. Then the Suspiria remake came out, and I loved it. God, I love that movie. I need to see it again. It's on Amazon. So Mason's really sold me on the original, and they always sound intriguing because it's a trilogy. It's the Suspiria, Inferno, Mother of Tears, and the concepts and the mythology behind it. It's all really cool and interesting. And I think maybe because I couldn't just stream it. I just haven't pulled the trigger. So I'm definitely gonna make an effort to see it now. Thanks for that, Mason.
It might even be worth like seeking out like a Blu-ray or something, because the version I saw was really cleaned up and just looked amazing. Like I've been watching movies with I didn't really watch this with her, but I've been watching some movies with my girlfriend's daughter, 10-year-old daughter. And she saw part of this and she was like, "Oh, this looks so good. It looks like a really high quality movie." I'm like, "I know, right? It's made in the 70s. It's like almost a 50-year-old movie, but it looks fantastic." So
also one of my favorite bands, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, they did a live soundtrack to Suspiria right before COVID hit.
See, I don't know. Having seen it now, I don't know if that would be good because the Goblin soundtrack is so good. I don't know if you replaced it.
The Goblin soundtrack is one of the most famous soundtracks of all time. I've never heard it.
If he replaced it, I don't know. It's like it's so tied in to what makes the movie work for me. So I don't know. But I was blown away. And so next week I'll probably be like, I saw this great movie, Citizen Kane. It's like a classic.
No, but yeah,
I'll try to get some deep cut in there.
But Suspiria is a classic amongst cult and horror film fanatics. Like, trust me, none of my friends have seen or know what Suspiria is, so I wouldn't worry about it being too obvious.
I just think for like a movie podcast, I should really be digging deep. But I mean, I'm not really watching movies with the thought of like, oh, here's what I'll bring to the podcast.
Right.
I'm just watching movies because I like watching movies.
Right.
What about you? Did you see anything good?
So I don't know if I mentioned this last time or previously, but because, we're in quarantine and there's nothing else to do, I've taken it upon myself to fill in my blind spots. So you read about like 5 of these artsy directors who are just mentioned all the time. And because they're mentioned all the time, I get kind of turned off to even check out their movies, because you feel like you read about it so much that you already know, you feel like you've seen the movie, and also it kind of feels like homework. So I've decided to do like my own mini retrospectives and go through all of these directors' catalogs, or the majority of them, watch the big films. So I'm starting with Andrei Tarkovsky. This dude's movies are so hard. They're just so slow, and I just don't believe anyone who's like, God, he's a genius. His movies I love his movies. Like, I just don't believe that. Like, they are beautiful works of art, but these are only movies I can watch once every 5 years. They are very slow and purposely so, and they're beautiful, but they're very hard to digest. They're very intelligent. They say cinema, like Alfred Hitchcock, all those guys, it's all about, cinema's about telling an image through story, or telling a story through images. And if you watch a movie, you should be able to understand what's happening if you turn the sound off. Tarkovsky has done both, where he uses the image in a very powerful way. It dominates the screen, but he also relies heavily on dialogue. His movies are injected with these like 5 to 10 minute, very deep philosophical conversations, and they just go on, and they're so dense, and I don't even understand them, so I feel stupid watching his movies. And that's what it is. His background, his dad was a poet, so a lot of that's in there, and so I've watched the first 2 movies of his, Ivan's Childhood, and I just watched last night. I watched Andrei Rublev, which is amazing. Like, it's an epic 3-hour film, but it's hard. It's 3 hours, and I thought it was really good because I felt like I was in 15th century Russia. It's very muddy, and again, he's a visual artist for sure. His movies are filled. There's texture on screen all the time. Mud, people wading through mud, and snow coming down, and things are set on fire. It's trees swaying. Like, it's very immersive, and you feel like you're there. But the camera moves very slowly on purpose, and you can definitely see how people like Spielberg probably took influence from him, from the way he uses his camera and does lots of long takes. But that's where I am right now. I'm in the middle of my Andrei Tarkovsky retrospective. So
sounds boring.
So yeah, thanks for tuning in to Chatting About Chan. Next week we'll be back with Snake and I keep forgetting what it's called. What?
Snake and Crane Arts of Shaolin.
Snake and Crane Arts of Shaolin. Awesome. So
it looks like a really serious movie.
Oh, really? Damn.
Yeah, probably back to a long description of a convoluted plot.
Oh, great. Not looking forward to that. Damn it. Well, all right. Well, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.